Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nikita Utwani. Welcome to this webinar today. Before we start, please help me out here. You know what I'm about to say. I just want to check that you all can hear and see me properly. Audio and video. Okay, thank you, Abuka. So welcome everyone. Like I said, thank you for joining this webinar today. We are going to be, I've prepared a practical exercise today for you on total cost of ownership. This is a bit of a special webinar in the sense that usually our webinars are 30 minutes, but today's webinar is going to be 1 hour long, and we're actually going to be working on an exercise together to calculate the TCO. And I will explain what that is in a minute. If this is your first webinar, then please follow Hatem and introduce yourself. Well, all of you feel free to introduce yourself, your name, the organization, and the country that you're joining from today. It's going to be an interactive webinar as well. And let me see if I can share. When I say interactive, what I mean is that I have prepared an exercise, like I was saying, and I'm going to be sharing. If you signed up for the webinar until this morning 9 a.m., then you will have received the files from me by email. And if you haven't gotten that, no worries. I'm just going to drop a link in the chat where you can also download the files. So let's begin. We are recording this webinar. It's actually a very similar webinar to the one that we ran last year. So maybe it might even refresh your memory, and you'll remember if you attended this one last year as well. But let's start. So total cost of ownership, right? What is this concept? Let me walk you through it a little bit. So first and foremost, it's a financial estimate, right? It's not a concept that is new or that is specific to fleet management. It's something that we can apply in our day-to-day lives when we buy. If we are thinking to, let's say, get a pet, for example, right? And it's a financial estimate that it helps you deter buyers or owners get a full picture of the investment that you're going to make, right? So in this case, we are talking about vehicles, and it includes the total cost of acquisition. So it's what it costs you to buy this, what the cost of buying this is as well, how much does it cost to run the vehicle, but also all the way until the time that you stop using it, right? Or that you remove it from your fleet. So that is the total cost of ownership. And you can apply this not only for own vehicles, but also rental vehicles. And you'll be seeing that in the exercise I've prepared for you today. Now, in this sector, what we see often is, like I said, it's made up of three elements, right? So it's acquisition, it's the cost of operating, and it is the disposal costs. Some organizations, let me ask you in the chat box, how many of you sell your vehicles? For when you are disposing the vehicles, how many of you, when I say sell, I mean like auction, for example. Can you use the chat box to tell me if you are doing this? When your vehicle, you see, Victor, you say I do it in Georgia, right? There we go. I'm seeing a few more colleagues also messaging in the chat box. Let me just keep an eye out on that. We do this in WFP Nairobi as well. Okay, why do I mention this? Is because when we, if you think about it in the context of TCO, when your disposal costs can also become disposal income, right? And what is that it does is that it lowers your TCO. So total cost of ownership in the context of fleet has four elements, or three depending on the disposal part, you could say, but it's the acquisition, it's the operating cost, it's the disposal costs, or the income. And if you look at the full picture of that, that then gives you your TCO, your total cost of ownership. Now, let me ask you a question, and I would like you to use the chat box again to answer. And I see we have 50 people on the line today, so lots of brain power behind this. What costs are included in the TCO? Can you use the chat box to give some examples of costs that you include in the TCO? Acquisition. Okay, Alvin, can you break it down for me a little bit more? What does acquisition mean? Depreciation, I see Gerard is typing. Purchase. Hi, John. Colleagues, those of you, in case you didn't see, with Save the Children won our Best Transport Achievement Award this year, and their global fleet manager is also joining the call today. Nice to see you, John. Insurance, fuel, tires, maintenance, the purchase. Okay. Okay, keep going, colleagues. You all are mentioning some things. I'm still missing out. So you've given me the most obvious ones, but there are also some more that I'm missing. Telematics. Okay, there we go. Yes, that's one of the ones that I was missing. Accident repair. Okay, so yes, breakdown costs. Yep. Customs and registration. Thank you, Nasser. Let me see, colleagues. Think about the ones that we are still missing. Car wash. Okay, now we're definitely thinking broadly. Okay, the car needs cleaning. Downtime related costs. Yes. Customization. What do you mean by that, Funny? Hiring the driver. Alhamdulillah. Yes, driver DSA. That's also because we do not have self-driving vehicles as yet. So we should also include the cost of the driver to operate the vehicle. But also you will see that if you have attended our trainings before, you will know that we also include the cost of the fleet manager, or the time it takes also from an administration perspective, right? So that can be a cost as well. Okay, so let me show you my screen. Indeed, colleagues, I think you guessed quite a number of them. Hi, John. Nice to see you. You've mentioned, I think maybe the only one I was missing is taxes. If, in case that's a thing in your country, maybe you have to pay vehicle tax every year, or road tax, labor cost we talked about. Oh, I mean, maybe you have to pay tolls or parking. Francis, I see you mentioned that the cost of the fleet manager can't be included. Can you elaborate a little bit why you think it should not be included? And I'll keep an eye out in the chat box as we continue. So what I wanted to also, Mohammed, vehicle fitness cost. Okay, it would be good to understand what you mean by that as well. Yeah, if y'all can use the chat box. In the meantime, what I want to also explain to y'all is how can you use the TCO, right? So there's a number of different things that you can use. Oh, I see some of you are answering already. Let me pause 1 second. Okay, so Francis, you say because fleet manager can be there to manage rentals. Yes, so Francis, I'm not sure if you've attended our trainings before, but one thing you'll notice, and you'll be seeing that in the exercise today as well, is that maybe the fleet manager, like let's say today you're calculating the TCO for one vehicle, right? You might not put the whole fleet manager's salary in it, but you might allocate a portion of it to the calculation, right? And I agree with you today. If you are let's say doing the TCO between buying versus renting, and you might say to me, Nikita, but maybe I exclude the fleet manager's salary because they have to spend time managing whether it's a vehicle that's bought or it's a vehicle that's rented. And I agree with you to some extent. I think what we've seen some organizations also think about is, do I spend more time managing the vehicles when they're bought than when they are rented? I think that to some extent they could be right? Like today, if you also have to take care of the maintenance of the vehicles and so forth, that's additional time. But I think you are right to say we should not have the impression that rental vehicles do not require fleet management, right? They need to be allocated. You need to think about how to, they're not your own vehicles, which means you need to take time to manage the service provider as well, to have a good relationship with them, to evaluate their performance. So I think we are on the same page. Yes. And Mohammed, you clarified in the meantime, and Nasser as well, which just has to do with like the MOS, right? If I'm not mistaken, did I see that somewhere written in there? Yes. And to obtain the fitness certificate from the government. Correct. Now I understand. Thank you. And I agree with you. Yes. So now let's look at how do we use it to make decisions, right? So here I've just given you some examples, and we won't be covering all of these examples in the exercises today, but we will cover some of them. You can use it for budgeting and planning. So today, if there's going to be a new project in your organization, if your grant manager is writing a bid, you can help them, right, with making, how do you say, identifying what are the costs to own this vehicle, right? Or to to take the full picture of the cost, not only to put budget not only to put budget for buying the vehicle or for the fuel and the maintenance, but to think of the other items that we discussed, right? It can help you with vehicle selection. Should you take a sedan or a 4x4, or between two sedan models or two 4x4s to make a comparison? It can help you with selecting a vendor, for example, with or even a rental company, right? If you take the still TCO principle and you take all the elements and then you compare, that can be helpful as well. And also it helps you with renting versus buying decisions. So it can be quite helpful, as you can see, but I would like you to not only see, but I would like you to also try for yourself. So we are now going to be entering the exercise part of this session. What I'm going to ask you to do is, I sent you by email 2 files. If you've not received the files, you can use the link that I have just posted in the chat box as well. We are going to be doing 2 exercises today. Before I start, can I just ask you to confirm that you have received the files or you are downloading the files? Please open them up on your computer and tell me when you are ready. A simple yes can confirm in the chat will help. Yes. Oh, you're very helpful. Thank you. Files received. Now we got to open them as well. Yes, let's get them open. Okay, superb. I see most of you are so great. It's honestly, this webinar is no fun to participate if you don't open the files and start working together with me. Edward, I see you said not received. I've posted the link in the chat as well. You can access the same files from the link. Download the files at the link and open them, and then you will also be ready. Yeah. Okay. Let's begin. So we are going to be doing the first exercise. Let me just brief you on it. It says the program managers are drafting the proposals and budgets for the upcoming grant cycle, right? And you want to assist them by providing inputs into the budget, right? Because if they've captured all the inputs, it will also make you more successful as the fleet manager. So this is an important moment to go to the program managers and help them get the right numbers into the budget. So you're going to be helping them calculate the costs for a sedan and a 4x4 based on the TCO principle. And I have given you the data of an organization. It's called Cubics. They are a organization that is providing very cool and groovy shelters to people around the world, inspirational workspaces and shelters as well. And so we are going to use their data. It's a fictitious organization. Colleagues, don't try to Google it. My colleague and I made up the name for this place. But the data that we are using is very real, and I think that's also why we want you to understand this case today. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to calculate the TCO for sedan ABC 124, and that's where you need to go into the Excel file that I've shared with you, and 4x4 ABC 123. And we are going to be using what we call the total cost of ownership calculator for this. Fleet Forum, we developed a TCO calculator a few years ago. Actually, we developed it many years ago, but it was an Excel file. Then we thought, you know what, let's do some things also more nice looking, more future oriented, also more fun and easy for you to work with. So we have this really cool TCO calculator, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me see. Colleagues, you're going to have to help me a little bit in that. Are you able to see my screen? Do you see a TCO calculator on it? Yes, thank you. Okay, so let's start. TCO calculator. You see my screen? This is, like I said, the TCO calculator. I'm going to put the link in the chat for you to access this calculator as well. It's publicly available for organizations. It's not a secret toolkit. Anybody can use it. The main difference is that now I'm using it in incognito mode. So it says guest, but actually you can, if you are a Fleet Forum member, you can log in and you can use the TCO calculator. Let me see. Ah, there we go. I'm logged in. You see how if you haven't made an account already, I think don't make it right now. We're in the middle of the webinar, but right after this, please do so. The key benefit of making an account in the calculator, and only members can do that, but the key benefit is that you can save your data. Very helpful when you want to go back and visit and recheck something. So please make sure, if you are a member, if your organization is already paying the fee, please take the value from it, make an account, and you can then save data as well. So let's begin. You will see in the calculator, there's two main features that we have. It's two types of calculations we talk about. One is on the vehicle selection, and one is about owning versus renting, and to help you make the decision around that. With this first exercise, we are only going to be focusing on the, on the selection. So we're going to make a comparison between the 4x4 and the sedan that I was referring to. And what you want to do first is you want to save if you want to give your data set a name, you can select the country that you are that you are operating in. Today I'm in the Netherlands, so I'll put Netherlands, kilometers, liters, euros. You can change this. For this exercise, I would propose maybe let's just work in US dollars and liters and in kilometers. Yeah. And here, please make sure, if you are, just for your own information, right? But if you're using the calculator, you have a choice to also just calculate the TCO for one vehicle. In that case, you should click this button here where it says estimate one, and there we go, compare two. So you see that my screen is also changing when I do that. So I have clicked now on, I want to make the comparison between two. So let's first start by filling in the information that applies to both vehicles. Yeah. My question to you, now that you have the Excel file in front of you, now that you have the instructions in front of you, how many working days are there in this organization? Working days means the number, if you think of a calendar year, it has 365 days. And if we assume that the office is open for like throughout the year and that it's open 5 days a week, and there are 10 public holidays, then you have, for example, 250 working days. So in this case, what is the number of working days? And I see Jackson and okay, I've said 250. Okay, super. What about the daily mileage? What is the daily mileage for these two vehicles? It's not 250, but I think you wrote 250 from before. But let me ask you, what is the daily mileage? Daily mileage means the average distance that is covered per day. And we are going to express this in kilometers. So I see, colleagues, we are starting to have some answers come in already. Nizar, you say it is 82 kilometers. Here you say 120. Angusim, you say 180. Okay, okay. 120.4. Alrighty. So I actually agree with the colleagues who said 120. Yes, indeed. So I'm really curious to know now how you all got 120, well, 170 and 80. Please remember, we're working on two specific, here, let me see if I can pull it up for you 1 second. Timothy, you're saying, colleagues, let's take 60 kilometers per day. I don't think we should take the 60 kilometers per day. What I want to encourage you to do is to look at the Angusim, you say I took the 20,000 kilometers and I thought, well, there's 250 days. Indeed, here I is pointing it out to you as well. So here what we have done is we have taken the odometer. 1 second, here we go. Yes, it's just loading it on my side. So here what we have done, colleagues, is we have taken the odometer readings. You will see in the Excel file that I have provided to you, we've taken the odometer readings, and what we did is we've taken it for the vehicles, and we see that, okay, if we subtract the amounts that Hirad has pointed out in the chat, and then we divide that by the number of working days, which is 250, then we will arrive at the 120. So I agree with the 120, 1%, 100%. The next thing that we ask in the calculator is, what is the mileage of the tires? Which means, what is the average mileage between the tire changes? And we ask you this because the calculator is going to make an estimate based for the cost of tires accordingly. So I see Alvin, you say 20,000, Nizar 20,000 as well. Kadri, oh la la, there are some interesting answers coming in. It is, colleagues, it's 20,000. You are right about that one. That is the number I'm going to be inputting in here. It is 20,000. And if you look in the case study, we've pointed out what is the tire change. So it's 20,000 actually. Okay, super. Let's continue. What is the monthly admin cost? I see some typing is going on in the chat. Let me just give you a few seconds. My GC was still downloading. Yes. So Evans, I see you're still answering the question on the tire. I think let's take 20,000. Please remember, this is just a case study. Yeah? Of course, in your own context, you might say, Nikita, we might need to, it's not 20,000, it's different because of the road conditions. Here, I try to prepare an exercise that we could all do, right? But I agree with you, absolutely, when you're using the TCO for your own organization, you really have to think about these different items and what is appropriate for your operating context, right? Colleagues, you are very quiet on the monthly admin cost. I'll tell you why, maybe. It's because it's a trick question. I have not included the salary of the fleet manager in the case study. Is that maybe why you have not answered the question as yet? It's not in the Excel file. I wanted to have some fun with you all as well, right? It's not correct. There's no admin cost. So this is just I wanted to test out a little bit if you were looking at this or if you were paying attention. As we talked about before, it's important to put the admin cost in. In this case, I've left it at 0 as a little bit of a trick question, but I think that this is really your chance to think about, like when you're preparing this case, when you're preparing your figures in real life, please think about this time. And like I said, you don't have to put the full fleet manager's salary on one vehicle, right? But you might think, as a rule of thumb in the sector, we say for every 30 vehicles, it merits having a fleet manager to oversee these vehicles, right? And to look at their performance and how to keep the cost low and how to look at it from a safety and an environmental and a program delivery perspective. So you could think about the fact of, okay, I'm a fleet manager in this organization. I manage 50 vehicles. Okay, then if I want to put the admin cost, I would take that and I would divide it. I would take my salary and divide it by 50. That's roughly how you can come to this cost. And it also, you want to think about it to put your tracking cost. You could also place it in there. Yeah, super. Now let's look at the labor costs. This is the driver's salary and per diem. Can I ask you what's the monthly labor cost in this case? I see some of you typing. Let's go for it. Context-based. It did not put a value. Okay. Now, keep in mind in the case study, we have said, use the data from ABC 124 and 4x4 123, right? To make the calculations. And I do understand that in the drivers list, for example, we've provided some salaries, but we are not per se saying which how do you say, which vehicle is assigned to which driver, which could also be a little bit confusing. Matthias, you say 352. Okay, see some more people typing. Good question, Alvin. Yes, which driver is assigned to 124 and 123? Correct. See, these are the types of questions you should be asking yourself, right? Or what you could also do sometimes is take like an average of the driver's salary. If you, because in this case, for example, we're talking about multiple vehicles, right? So what I've done for now, maybe just for the sake of simplicity, I have gone ahead and put 530. Okay. Robson, your question, the cost of the fleet manager is what I'm saying we should be putting in the admin cost field. In this case, I have not provided a value, so I've left it at 0. And then the monthly labor cost, this is more specifically on the driver and the per diem, and there I've put in 530 for now. I've taken an average of the driver salary. Super. How do we come up with the labor cost? Where what you do is you look at what is the salary and the per diem, what is the monthly salary of your driver, and you include a the per like think about the number of trips on average you have a driver take. Do you pay them a per diem for that? If you do, then you include that in the labor cost as well. Yeah. John, you say, is it possible to leave the calculator active? Yes, absolutely. It's just the calculator existed online for years now. It's not going anywhere. So no worries. What about accommodation? Good question. If that's a cost that you cover, Justin, in your organization for the driver, then I would put that in as well. Yeah. Training cost for the driver, Alvin, you are really on fire today. Yes, I agree. You should put that in as well in this. It's a good point. It's a good point. You're finding all my trick questions today. This is great. I'm really enthusiastic. What about the insurance cost? Okay, colleagues, we're getting there now. So, assuming you have a leaving allowance, a cola, yes, a fire up here, you put that as well. Absolutely. I'm looking at the time as well, and I really want to make sure we at least finish this exercise. Maybe even take another one. So let's take now. This is the costs that apply for both vehicles, right? Now let's go more into the specific cost for the two different vehicles. I would propose that we start with sedan ABC 124. So tell me, colleagues, what should I start filling in? Fuel price. What is the fuel price in this case study? Not everybody at once, please. Fuel price. Woo! That is very expensive fuel per liter, Vera. So the fuel price, please remember, I'm talking about the price. Huh? Price meaning what is the dollar that we pay per liter. Thank you, Gerard, and thank you, Nizar. It is indeed $1. What you have to do is if you go into the Excel file, which I've been sharing, and you look at the fuel expenses, you will see that it says liters purchased and the expenses. So it's very easy if you divide the expenses, you do the expenses divided by the liters purchased, you will see that it costs roughly $1 per liter. Yeah, and that's the amount I'm going to be filling in. Then the next thing you've got to do is provide the fuel consumption for this vehicle. And what is the fuel consumption? Eight. Is that true? Let's see what more colleagues have to say, Nasir. Tasfai just joined. He's helping you guys. He's giving you all the formula. We can do this. Okay, let's see. Coco 7.1, 7.5, 10, 7. Oh, colleagues, it's kilometers per liter. Edward, some organizations, I know they do like liters per 100 kilometers. But in this case, we're doing kilometers per liter. And please remember, we're doing it for ABC 124. Okay, so I will help you out a little bit. The correct answer should be 11.62. Alvin is close. Edward close as well. Isa, you're using common sense, which common sense is very important, but I think I also want us to include the data, right? So in the Excel file, I've indicated what is the kilometers. Give you the odometer readings from which you can pull the kilometers driven, and I have given you the fuel expense and the liters purchased. So you can actually use that to say, this divided by this gives me, and then that's where we get 11.62 or 11 or 12, depending on what you have rounded out to, right? So let me go ahead there and write 11.62. Acquisition value. Acquisition value is the cost of putting the vehicle into service. It includes import, registration costs. So what is the acquisition the acquisition cost for ABC 123? Nizar says 20,000. I have some more colleagues writing as well. Hey, 2020. There we can all agree. Okay. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now let's look at maintenance costs. Max, you say, is there a reason why we are using ABC 124? So Max, the exercise was we're going to make a comparison between sedan ABC 124 and the 4x4 ABC 123. So we started off with 124, but we will get to, did I say something wrong? Oh, I think I said it correctly. Oh, no, I said it correctly. We're starting off with 124. Oh, sorry. You're right. And it is 1,321. That's correct. Yes. Now let's look at the insurance cost, colleagues. What is the insurance cost? Max, you're right. Sorry, I just fixed that over there. Thank you. Okay, so on the insurance, we seem to be getting different costs. Is it? I'm hearing some different answers from, it is 900 indeed, colleagues. 900 is the insurance costs. Let me add that in there. 900. Alrighty. Oops, sorry. I wrote, my apologies. Insurance costs 900, 900. Let's do this. Okay. Then we have the cost of the tires. Let me see, what am I hearing you say or write more specifically? 128. Yep. Yes, 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 yes. That's correct. It's 1,028. Correct. And then let's look at the cost of the breakdown. Oh, no, sorry. Repair costs? Repair costs, anyone? 0, no repairs. That's fantastic news. Number of breakdowns. This part I will give you a little bit, I'll simplify it for you a little bit. We try to keep the exercise not too complicated either, right? But repair 0, number of breakdowns 0, average breakdown cost 0, annual road tax 0. And what is the disposal method? Auction, that's correct. It is sale or auction. And what is the disposal value? Meaning, how much do we think we can sell the vehicle for? Indeed, 4,500. Ekaterina, in the case study, it says disposal method by auction and average proceeds of it 4,500. Okay, so we have now done this for ABC 124, right? Now we are going to, in vehicle 2, fill this in for the 4x4 number 4x4 ABC 123. So let's type that in, 4x4 ABC 123. It's also go diesel. Alrighty, fuel price, colleagues. Let's do this now, but for the 4x4. Fuel price. Just fine, no worries. It's okay. Let me see if I can help you a little bit. We're doing an exercise. If you signed up in advance, then you will have received some files from me, and we're doing an exercise to calculate the TCO of ABC 123 at the moment. So there's still time to join, no worries. I know it's a little bit confusing. If you're finding it confusing, you can always help the colleagues by sharing the formulas that you know. Alrighty, colleagues, you're saying $1 once again. Great job, great job. Yes, same price. Up here, you asked auction, as in what? Auction meaning that you decide to sell the vehicle, and you work sometimes with a third-party auctioneer where you will put the vehicles for sale, and then people will come and bid. I will pay this much. I'll pay this much, and then you give to the highest bidder, like that auction. You make some then that, and it's a way of selling the vehicle basically. Okay, I see some answers coming in on the fuel price. Fantastic, colleagues. So fuel price, indeed, like many of you are mentioning, it is the same as before. What about the, no, is it the same as, it is. And what about the fuel consumption? That is definitely not the same. So I'm very curious to know what you all think it is. 7.77, 7.5. We are getting, you notice how we are getting into the habit of doing this exercise, because I see our answers are becoming closer and closer to each other. So that's great news. It's indeed 7.77. What about the acquisition value? Yeah. What they are doing for the formula for the fuel consumption is that they are going specifically to ABC 123. Yeah. And they are taking the total kilometers driven using the odometer readings tab. That gives you the kilometers. Then in the fuel expenses, for the same vehicle for ABC 123, they're taking the total liters and they're saying kilometers divided by liters, and they're getting 7.77. I hope that helps you. Colleagues, I agree, the vehicle cost $57,071. That is correct. Let us move on to the maintenance costs. What are the maintenance costs for this vehicle? Ripa, 1,728. Good job. And the insurance costs? Justin, good question. Maintenance cost per year or per month? It is per year. Yes, so the insurance cost, as many of you are pointing out, it is 1157. What about the cost of the tires? Let me see what you're renting. Yamba says 1570, yes. Great job, guys. I thought this webinar would be a little bit harder today, but you all seem to be rocking and rolling. Okay, okay. And the repair costs? Any repairs? Zero, okay, zero repairs, zero breakdowns, zero average breakdown cost. I will help you with this as well. Zero road taxes and disposal method. Auction, and how much duku? What is the amount? 14,000. Am I seeing that there correctly? Yes, we are seeing that correctly. Alrighty, colleagues. So as you can see, I hope already from this exercise, you see that calculating your TCO, it's not in a days and days of exercise, but you need a number of different inputs, right? Because it's a comprehensive calculation. So from there, we will say, now that we've put in all the different amounts, we will press calculate, and you will see on my screen, you can check the cost calculation either by per day, or you can check it by kilometer. But you will see in essence per day, for example, or if the cost is about for the sedan, it's $63 and change, and for the 4x4, it is $96.15. So how do we do, why is this exercise, well, not the exercise, but how can this calculation help you today? If you want to show to your, imagine you're having a discussion with your programs colleagues, right? And they're saying, we want a 4x4, and you know the road condition, and the safety situation, the security context, and all these different things, you know it's possible to drive a sedan. You can use the TCO, for example, to show to them, look, this is the cost of the 4x4, this is the cost of the sedan, and this is how much money we can save if we are all to use a sedan. You can use it for your project proposals to put the full cost estimate in there. And please keep in mind, today we take this approach from a cost perspective, right? But it can also be, of course, if you move to a smaller vehicle, you also have a positive impact on the environment. It's a smaller vehicle, it's consuming less fuel. So it's a way to make you think how sometimes if you want to convince your colleagues of something, but you're not managing that to convince them, how you can use your data for this. Vera, I see you say, what if it is a new project where you do not have already existing data? So few things. Let's say it's a new project, you can use your existing fleet, right, to make some estimates for the new project. That's one way to go about it, right? So you don't have the exact figures for your vehicle for the new vehicles, but you can think about what's already in your fleet, take the newer vehicle, or another thing to do also is maybe talk to a colleague in another organization, see what benchmarks they might have available for you to support you with. That can also be useful. At Fleetforum, for example, we don't do benchmarks by country, at least not as yet. That's the dream. But we do have a benchmarking exercise that we run every year. And there are some elements in there that are related to the TCO and what is the cost of the different types of vehicles. So it's also something you can take into consideration. Yeah, I see we have 15 minutes more. I had planned actually one more exercise for you. Let me see if I can show you just a little bit how it works, right? So let me stop sharing my screen 1 second and switch over. Yeah, Marcus is replying as well to you. Perfect. So let me switch over to the other exercise I had prepared for you today, actually, which is you want to determine whether to buy or to rent. And currently your organization is not renting any vehicles, but you've heard from others that actually this is more cost efficient for them. And so you have decided to investigate for yourself. And the exercise I wanted to do with y'all was to actually have you work on putting in the fleet, putting in the data for the average cost of owning a vehicle, and then us making the comparison between owning versus renting. So let me see. I think we have 14 minutes. Actually, I think with the pace that y'all were moving at, I'm feeling fairly comfortable that we could even run this right now. So let me see if that's okay with y'all. We still have a few more. Mm, let me share my screen, and I see some interesting questions popping up in the chat. Colleagues, don't worry, I will definitely come to it. Just bear with me. Yeah, I'm going to make sure we get done in time as well. So let's try with the, if you'll entertain me, let's try to do one more exercise. It will not be as complicated as the other one, and we'll stop if we are running out of time. No worries. Let's try to look at owning versus renting. Yeah. And what I'm going to ask you to help me fill out once again is we want to make the comparison with the working days. Well, the working days I will fill for you already. Let's take the daily mileage. We want to make a comparison between owning versus renting. What would be the daily mileage? Edward, our mathematician, has started calculating. Good job, colleagues. I see many of you have asked questions above. Please don't worry. I'm going to come back to questions. I have not forgotten them. I've read them. I want to make sure we do this exercise, and I'm going to leave 5 more minutes for questions. Don't worry. Don't worry. So let's take a look at the kilometers. Let me see what have you all written. I'm going to load it as well on my end. Yes. So let's take a look. I see different kilometers being written, and in this case, what I would encourage us to, in daily mileage, in this case, I have actually written down, sorry, just 1 second, colleagues. Yeah, here we go. 80, I see somebody writing 120. I had put down 86 actually to be a bit more precise, but yes, we are roughly in the same range. Then let's take a look at owning the vehicle. Fuel price, what would we put over there? Fuel price, I think it's the same as before. Correct. The magical 99 cents. Fuel consumption. Vera, what I did to get the 86 kilometers, what I did was I looked at the odometer readings. From there, I took the the annual mileage for all the vehicles. Then I divided that by 250, and I took an average of that. And from that is where I'm getting the 86 in the rough range. Then Alvin and colleagues there, we seem to have a difference of opinion on what is the fuel consumption. Let me see what you all have written. Just 1 second, it's loading a little bit slow on my end. Okay, I see some of you have given up, or you're very quiet. Okay, I actually put down 7.43 for the fuel consumption. I'll help you out, no worries. The important thing is I want you to understand more or less how the exercise is working, right? And the message I wanted to pass to you with this is that you can also use this exercise to take the averages. You can input averages of your fleet in this as well. So let's take here acquisition value, for example. Here I've taken the average of the average acquisition value, and there I've put in down 4,678. Same with the tires mileage. There I've written 20,000, not 2,000. Cost of the tires, there we have put down 1,828. Do y'all see my screen? I'm just double checking. Okay. Here, let me, what might be easier, colleagues, is let me load for you some of the answers. Here, load. Yes, that's fine. Maybe it's easier if I show you what I how I let me show you. Sorry. Apologies, colleagues. Apologies. Let me show you what I've prepared in the exercise. So here, what you'll see is I filled in the values for the average of the fleet. And then the more interesting part that I wanted you to look at is that in the rental side, you can make a distinction between today, maybe in your country, you might say, when I rent a vehicle, it also includes the driver. Or some of you might say, no, for me it includes the maintenance and the repair, but I still have to have the driver. So you can play around with this and see, okay, what is included based on the quotes you're getting. So actually the calculator can help you make comparisons between rentals as well, right? So it can be helpful from that perspective. But in this case, I have filled in this part based on the data that is there in the exercise. And if I calculate it, what I see then actually is that owning the vehicle costs me $68, well, $69 per day, and renting the vehicle cost me 73 per day. So this is why it's important as well, colleagues, to make sure that you do a TCO based analysis, because as we were showing you in the case, the fleet manager had heard from others that that renting is the cheaper option. But if you look in the case study, owning is the cheaper option. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that's a reason now that you must do owning. If you are accustomed to attending our webinars or any of our activities, you will see in Fleet Forum, we are constantly telling you that fleet management has to do, yes, cost efficiency is one part, but environmental sustainability is another, road safety is another, program delivery is another part of it. So maybe you might say, yes, it's cheaper, but it is very time consuming. We would still then maybe choose we would prefer to rent, because we feel the difference is not that much. It's up to you ultimately, right? You have to really think about what is the best for your context. Yep. Colleagues, I see you raised a number of interesting questions. Let me try to open up the Q&A, and let's pull some questions in the chat. Here, let's start with Anguson says, but for short periods of time, renting can be cost efficient, right? How do you say? Anguson, can is a big word, if I can be honest. Here, the message I want to pass to you ultimately is you do the calculation. You use data. Check and see what is the, how do you say? What is the right way, like get your data in, confirm what that's looking like. I understand what you mean where you say, Nikita, today, okay, but if I buy a vehicle, it's for 5 years, renting, maybe if it's only for 3 months, then it's okay, right? I agree with you to some extent, but I think what you'll also see is that many times organizations start to think like that, and then we end up with a program that for 3 years we are renting vehicles. And that's where we're saying, you know what, be careful with this. It also requires some long-term vision and long-term planning. And for some organizations, you will see, like, I think, maybe we have some colleagues from Save the Children who are on the line. What you'll also find out is that you might have projects that are 3 to 6 months, right? But those are projects. If you take one step back and you look at the overall organization, you'll find out, okay, maybe we have 3-month project here, but then we had a different 3-month project here and a different 6-month project over here. And that's where some organizations, thank you, John, are saying, you know what? we are going to implement, for example, a service charge mechanism where we will fund our own fleet, and what we are focused on is we charge it back to the specific project and the donor. And that way you don't have to think, oh, but it's this project, it's only a short-term rental. But you can think, okay, I am funding my own fleet, because ultimately, even though I have different projects, if I combine them, I have a consistency in the number of projects that I have going on. So it's something to think about. Yeah, but I think linking back to your question, Anderson, the key message here is do your calculation. Yeah. Then let's get some more questions up. We would like to practice. How can we have a database link? So Tapiwa, no, that wasn't Tapiwa. Was it Tapiwa's question? It is. Tapiwa, I'm not sure what you mean by database link, right? I think that the best way to practice is I've shared the link of the tool of the TCO with you. It's available for you to use. It's available today, tomorrow, a year from now. Use it as much as you wish. If you want to get more into like also practicing and so forth, we run these webinars. This specific webinar we've been running once a year, right? To sort of keep reminding, keep refreshing. And I think that's also why we had some colleagues on the line today who are quick, because they have now gotten into the habit of, it's not about this calculator, but about doing these types of calculations, right? And understanding. So you can continue to use this calculator. Gerard, I saw your question earlier. No worries, I did not ignore it. I agree with you, Gerard. Linear depreciation is a very oversimplified way of doing this. I'm going to look into it. I've always, before, I mean, it's not about me, Nikita, but Fleetform in general, what we've always tried to do a balance between also is like simplicity and ease of use, right? But you're not wrong. As you can see, if you're hearing my tone and you see my facial expressions, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just trying to strike that good balance. Yeah. Then I see some of you are already congratulating me. Colleagues, I have not finished the webinars yet, but bear with me. Is there a support documentation that outlines the methodology between some of the calculation? So Max, yes and no. What we try to do is that you'll notice, I don't know if you saw it in the tool while I was using the tool, right? But next to many of the tabs, there was like a little question mark. If you move your cursor right on the question mark of these different items, you'll see a little pop-up box with some text explaining it a little bit. So that's definitely where we didn't, instead of writing a whole Word document, we try to embed it directly into the tool so you can get it while you are reading it. Yeah. Hakeem says, at the moment we are renting 2 cars, $300 per day for each car for a period of more than 2 years. Is it worth continuing to rent? Hakeem, I don't know. I don't think the answer is yes or no here. I think what I and Fleetform, we constantly try to do when we are helping organizations with their guidelines around rental, for example, and their policies around rental, is to say you should not be renting for more than 3 months or 6 months without reevaluating the decision if it's the right one for the organization in the long run. So think, if you've been renting now these cars for a period of more than 2 years, it's time to maybe take a step back and say, okay, what is the organization's plan for the coming year? What types of projects have we applied for? How confident are we that we're going to get these? And to complement those conversations with the TCO calculation, to think, okay, 2 years ago, had we bought those vehicles instead of renting them, what would have been the difference? Would it have been $1,000? Would it have been, I don't know, $10,000? I have no clue. But I think that's where your role in this exercise is to trigger the question in your organization, and to also have people to how do you say it in English, to do the calculation for your organization to see what the thinking is around this. Yeah. Let me see any other burning questions I can pick up. No, I think most of them were around, we'd like to practice, how can we get the methodology. We're going to be sending out a thank you email today with the links as well, colleagues. Once again, no worries. Oh, maybe let me take a last one and then we wrap it up. Tarek, you said, can we add more vehicles more than 2? To be honest, I haven't. Let me answer the question quickly. The way we try to simplify the tool is to say, let not put too much heaviness on it, right? But actually, you can do this in an Excel sheet as well. Huh? Like we just do the calculator because it's nice and fun, and you get the visuals from it. But you can also make a very simple, similar to this right now. You can make an Excel. If you want to do it with 10 vehicles, you put down these different cost elements we learned about today. You put down vehicle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you put your values in there, and from there you can do the calculation. Last one, Vera, you mentioned I just tried to register for the tool, but my organization is not registered as a member of FleetForm. Vera, maybe drop me a message separately and let's have this conversation. We of course try to give some extra benefits to FleetForm members as well. So you can definitely use the tool. The question is more whether you can save the data, right? But let's have a discussion about this separately. Yes. Alrighty, colleagues, you were great today. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for putting so much good energy and interaction. This session is always only useful if you are actually, giving feedback, answering the working together on the exercise with me. So I really appreciate it. A big thank you to those of you who really came in and worked together with the exercise with me. If you really enjoyed this session and you want us to do more practical sessions like this or different ones, you can always come to us with ideas on what type of session you would like, and we're more than happy to facilitate this. Yeah. Thank you so much, colleagues. We'll send you the recording, and we will also send you the slides. Sorry, not the slides, the link to the calculator. Yeah. Alrighty. Have a great day. Thank you all.